Hi, I hope everyone is doing well. I am Vidushi Tyagi and you are watching Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper analysis from the UPSC perspective. Today we have taken up important articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express. So for first question is based on classical language. First question is based on classical language because there's a recent demand to give classical language status to Bengali language. Then we have next discussion based on Ajanta cave because there's a featured article which talk about its significance and its paintings. Then we have next question based on GM mustard because recently Supreme Court asked government about uses and regulations of GM mustard. Then we have our next discussion on clean Ganga mission because there is an article based on the same. For mains we have taken up two topics. First is insolvency and bankruptcy code because RBI governor has called for reforming IBC code 2016 or strengthening IBC code 2016. Then we have our next discussion based on antimicrobial resistance because there are many articles which talk about antimicrobial resistance. So our second mains discussion will be based on the same. So here's a small request. If you like our videos, please do like, share, and subscribe. So let's start our discussion. First discussion is based on this news article which appeared on page number 4. And context is West Bengal Chief Minister has formally requested Prime Minister to designate Bengali as a classical language. Okay. And why she made so? Because she highlighted that there's a historical roots of Bengali language, which is based on a scientific research and a team. They traces back the origination of this language way back to 2500 years. Okay, so you know that Bengali language is the second most spoken language in India, and it holds seventh position globally if you talk about in terms of speakers. Okay, and it is West Bengal official language, obviously. So why we have taken it? Because UPSC have already asked question based on classical language in year 2015. So here we have curated practice question on officially recognized classical language. We have provided you two statements and you need to find out the correct one. So before answering, first let's see basics about classical language status. What is the importance of getting classical language status? So the term classical language or Shastriya Bhasha encompasses languages in India with rich history, significant antiquity, and a distinct literary heritage. Okay. Then Republic of India officially designated how many languages as classical? Yes, 6. And if everything goes well, then we have 7, and seventh one would be Bengali. So first we have Tamil. It got the status of classical language in year 2004. Then we have Sanskrit. It got the status of classical language in year 2005. Then we have Telugu, which got the classical language status in year 2008. And it is the spoken language of which state? Yes, Andhra Pradesh. Then we have Kannada. This language got the status in year 2008. And then we have Malayalam. This language got the status of classical language in year 2013. And last we have Odia, the sixth one, Odia. And it got the status of classical language in year 2014. Okay. So these are the six designated classical languages. And Who will confer the status of classical language or who will implement the decision? Yes, Ministry of Culture in collaboration with the linguistic experts. Okay. And all the classical languages are listed in 8th schedule of the constitution. So these are the important facts with respect to classical language status. Now, to recognize a classical language as a language, it should hold certain criteria. The first one is that it should demonstrate high antiquity, like it should represent early text or a recorded history spanning 1500 to 2000 years. And just now I told you, as per the research, Bengali language may trace back to 2500 years. Okay. So, second is possession of a body of ancient literature or text. Then, originality of the literary tradition and should not be borrowed from another speech community. And the last characteristic is its distinctiveness between the classical language and literature from its modern counterparts. So, potentially involving a discontinuity. Okay, so these are the 4 criteria. Now, let's solve our MCQ based on our above discussion. So, the first statement is Sanskrit was the first language to be conferred the status of classical language by the government of India. Now, you need to tell me, is it true or false? Yes, it's incorrect because Tamil was the first language to be conferred the status of classical language by the government of India, and in which year? Yes, in year 2004. Okay. The second statement is continuity between the classical language and its modern literature is an important criteria for obtaining official classical language status. Read the statement again. Continuity between the classical language and its modern literature is an important criteria. But just now what we have discussed that there should be a distinctiveness between classical language and the literature from its modern counterpart. So this make our second statement incorrect. So both these statements are incorrect. So our answer is option D, neither one nor two. Answer of this PYQ is Odia, A. Which one of the following was given classical language status recently? And tell me the year. Write in the comment box. Now let's come to our next topic. Context is that Binoy, a filmmaker, art historian, and photographer, illuminates Ajanta caves in its ongoing exhibition. And exhibition is name is Lost Ancient Art Revealed at the Indian International Center. Okay. Now UPSC has been asking question on important mural paintings. There was a question on Ajanta caves in year 2021. So that is why we have curated question based on same theme. So here we have provided you 3 statements, and we'll see this after our discussion, brief discussion about Ajanta caves. Now Ajanta caves, here's an image. It is situated in Sahyadri range along with Wagora Rear near Aurangabad in Maharashtra. And Ajanta comprises of rock cut caves. Okay. So total here we have 29 caves, 25 caves served as viharas. What are viharas? Yes, residential caves. Correct. Then rest 4 used as chaityas, or you can say prayer halls. Okay. So these caves were developed during the period spanning from 200 BC to 650 AD. Okay. Now Buddhist monks supported by Vakataka kings, particularly notable among them being Harisena, inscribed the Ajanta caves. So basic themes of these paintings revolves around Buddhism. They basically depict scenes from the life of Buddha, Jataka stories, And among 29 caves, 5 developed by Hinaya phase and 24 developed by Mahanaya phase. Now, you need to tell me what is the difference between Hinaya phase and Mahanaya phase of Buddhism and write in the comment box. Okay. Now we know basic about Ajanta caves. Let's solve our MCQ. So, the first statement is the most significant depiction of Bodhisattvas, Padmapani and Vajrapani are often associated with Ellora caves. Now, this statement is incorrect. Why? Because depiction of Bodhisattvas, Padmapani and Vajrapani are often associated with Ajanta caves and not Ellora. See here, you can see image of Bodhisattva Padmapani. So it represents Buddha compassion. This Bodhisattva Padmapani represents Buddha's compassion. In this image, you can see a female Bodhisattva depicted as a female holding a lotus in her hand, okay, lotus flower. And second is Bodhisattva Vajrapani holding Vajra in hand. Image is not that much clear. Okay, this represents Buddha's power. Okay, got it? Now, second statement is 29 caves discovered at Ajanta are associated with Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Again, this statement is incorrect because 29 caves discovered at Ajanta, they are predominantly about Buddhism. Okay, and just now I told you 5 developed during Hinayana phase and 24 developed during Mahanaya phase. Okay, so this statement is incorrect. First statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the third statement. The accounts of Ajanta caves can be found in record of Buddhist monk Fahin. This statement is true because travel narratives provided by Fahin during the reign of Chandragupta II and Huan Seng during the reign of Emperor Harshvardhan, they do talk about Ajanta cave or they given reference about Ajanta caves. So our third statement is correct. So here we need to find out the incorrect statements. So our answer would be yes, only B. Answer of this PYQ, Ajanta caves lie in the gorge of Wagora River. Okay. Now let's come to our next discussion, which is based on this news article which appeared on page number 16 in the Hindu newspaper. Context is Supreme Court questioned the government on whether the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee GEAC had considered the reports of the court-appointed technical expert committee on the biosafety of transgenic mustard hybrid, that is DMH11, before approving it for environmental release. Now, UPSC has been asking question on genetically modified crops. There was a question on Bolgard 1 and Bolgard 2 in year 2021. So here we have taken up our practice question based on DMH11. Okay. Now to answer this question, first you need to know about what is DMH11. See, DMH11 is GM mustard, and how it is created is it is created by using 2 varieties of mustard. First one is Varuna. It has been genetically modified to male sterlite. That means it will not produce pollen. Okay, so it has a gene called as Barnase. It has the gene called Barnase, and this is the main reason behind this male sterility of this variety. Okay, then we have another variety known as early Hira 2. and it is not a sterlite. Okay, this has a gene name as Barstar. So what will happen? Barstar gene counteracts the Bernasse gene, and it will give rise to allow plants to produce seeds. Okay, so this will allow plants to produce, yes, seeds. So now this cross uh, will give rise to a variety known as F1 generation. Cross of Bernasse and Buster, cross of Varuna variety and early Hira 2 will give rise to new variety, and that is F1 generation. And this F1 generation possesses quality of both Varuna and early Hira 2. High yielding from Varuna, and it is producing a lot of seeds. This quality it got from early Hira 2. Additionally, there's another gene added in this, that is Buster. And this gene will provide a resistance against herbicide known as phosphinothricin. So, Buster added to give resistance against phosphinothricins. This is a herbicide. Okay. So, this is all about DMH11. Now, let's come to our question. First statement with respect to DMH11 is that it is a transgenic hybrid variety of a crop commonly known as golden rice. It's incorrect. It's mustard. Yes, mustard. Then this transgenic hybrid variety is expected to be tolerant to herbicides. Just now we have seen it is tolerant to phosphinothricin herbicide. Okay. So this makes our second statement correct. Bernasse and Buster are the soil bacteria which are used for gene modification. Yes, it's correct. Just now we have seen Bernasse gene is in Varuna, and early Hira possess Buster gene. And Buster counteracts Bernasse and it will give rise to plant which can produce seeds. Okay. So with this, our second and third statement is correct. So here we need to find out the correct statement. So our answer is only B, only 2. First statement is incorrect. It's a variety of mustard and not golden rice. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now let's come to our last question, which is based on this news article which appeared on page number 6 in the Indian Express. So context is that National Mission for Clean Ganga, the central nodal agency, is responsible for abatement of pollution in river Ganga and its tributaries. And this has assumed new power under which it may now permit the discharge of treated sewage and effluent that conforms to the prescribed norms into the river, canal, or water bodies. Okay, under new uh, rules. Now, UPSC has already asked question based on National Ganga River Basin Authority (NGRBA) in year 2016. So here we have curated practice question based on same. So here you are provided with 3 statements and you need to find out the correct one. So the first statement is Chairman of the National Ganga Council is the Prime Minister of India. Now, National Mission for Clean Ganga was registered as a society on 2011 under Societies Regulation Act 1860, and National Ganga Council is under chairmanship of Honorable Prime Minister, and it acted as implementation arm of National Ganga River Basin Authority. UPSC put a question on this aspect. which was constituted under the provisions of Environmental Protection Act EPA 1986. So with this, our first statement is correct. That chairman of National Ganga Council is Prime Minister of India. Now, Namami Gange program aims at minimizing the sewage inflow into the river. Definitely. Generic statement. Rehabilitation of flora and facilitate public engagement. That's the basic aim of this program. So this makes our second statement correct. Then we have our third statement. National Ganga Council has been constituted under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Just now, I told you that this council is an implementation arm of National Ganga River Basin Authority, which was constituted under the provisions of Environmental Protection Act 1986. So, with this, all three statements are correct. So, your answer is option C. Another important fact is that National Ganga River Basin Authority has since been dissolved with effect from year 2016, consequent to the Constitution of National Council for Regeneration, Protection and Management of River Ganga, that is National Ganga Council. Okay. So that's all for your pre. Now let's come to the mains discussion. So our first discussion is based on this news article which appeared on page number 20. And context is that Reserve Bank of India Governor Shashikant Das batted for a specified framework for the group insolvency mechanism for stressed assets in the country to improve the working of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Now, this article talks about mobilization of resources, better mobilization of resources. For that, we need Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And here you can see mobilization issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment is key theme mentioned in GS paper 3. Okay, so it's important from UPSC perspective. Also, UPSC has been asking question based on mechanism related to which can solve issues related to credit flow. Like there was a question based on scheme for sustainable structuring of stressed assets S4A in year 2017. There was a question based on inter-creditor agreement in year 2019. So with this aspect, it is quite important to cover insolvency aspect. So now let's start our discussion with what is insolvency and bankruptcy. See, both these terms are connected with excessive debt. Correct? And what is insolvency? When any organization or any company or individual who couldn't able to give back the loan during the specified time period, then that company is solvent. Okay. And what is bankruptcy? It is a legal process. It is a legal process. And this legal process will give shelter or protection to whom? To these individuals, companies who couldn't able to give back their loan within a specified time period. Okay. So there, so that is insolvency and a bankruptcy. Now, the next question is why India needed Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016? Now you know India is a growing economy. So there is a necessity to have a healthy flow of credit, good amount of capital for its growth. So for that, India needed Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Now to understand basics about this code, first you need to understand the connection between bank and India's GDP or any country's GDP. Okay. So first we'll start with good financial health of bank. Okay. As you can see in this image. So good financial health of bank, that means that that bank is having good balance sheet. Okay. Good, good balance sheet. Good balance sheet means that bank is having adequate capitalization. So bank is having adequate capitalization. Bank having adequate capitalization means that it can manage risk. Okay. So it can easily manage risk. Now bank with good balance sheet, it is easy for that bank to roll out money for businesses to individuals. So it will lead to credit creation. Now business or individuals will get loan easily because there is a adequate capitalization. Okay. So easy loans, that means more credit to businesses, more credit to individuals. So definitely it will give rise to what? It will give rise to purchasing power. It will increase investment. Okay. So increase in credit creation, that means they can lend a loan easily to businesses, to individuals. Then more credit means increase in purchasing power. More credit means more investment. Definitely it will increase in credit creation. Now business will expand. There will be expansion because of this credit availability. Okay. Now consumer will spend more because of credit availability. Okay. That means economy is growing. That means higher GDP rate. Got it? Now, if economy is growing, if economy is growing, then definitely there is increase in demand. Definitely there is an increase in sales. Definitely there is increase in profits, right? So higher profits for companies. Ultimately, it will give rise to higher profits for companies. Now, when companies having high profit, definitely they are able to repay their loan in a time bound manner easily because they are having profits. So easy repay of easy repay of loans will give rise to lower non-performing assets. Okay. Now lower non-performing assets, economy is growing. There is profit associated with companies. So definitely it will reflect good financial health of banks because now lower NPA, lower NPA reflects good balance sheet of banks. Now banks having good balance sheet. So definitely good financial health of banks foster economic growth. You got the connection between banks health and economic growth. Now just imagine another scenario. Here we'll start with poor financial health of bank. Let me erase it. Now we'll start with poor financial health of bank. This may be due to lot of NPAs, bad loans. Okay. So now it's very difficult for bank to roll out money for businesses to individuals. So now individuals will not get loan easily. So definitely their spending will decrease. Banks will not get loan easily. Definitely they will not expand. So there is decrease in credit creation because of this. Now, when there is decrease in credit creation, that means consumer not spending that way. So their spending going down. Companies not expanding. So definitely they're going down. And it will further reflects in what? Economy is going down. Okay. Now, when economy is going down, definitely there is decrease in GDP rate. Okay. So now when economy is going down, definitely companies will not make that much profit. Companies will not make that much sales because so when companies will not make that much sales, companies will not make that much profit, definitely there is lower profit for companies. Now if company is not having proper profit, it give rise to a stagnant growth, or it give rise to a zombie firms. Now let's understand what are zombies firm. See, there is an ideal situation when any company turn insolvent. Begin with when they are defaulting on loan. Okay. So what is the ideal situation for a creditor or a for any bank, that you try to recover as much as you can and as quickly as you can? This is the ideal situation. Otherwise, what will happen? This low profit for companies will give rise to zombie firms, and these are those companies they generate enough amount to pay back uh, interest on debt. Okay. These companies can generate, or they can pay back interest on debt, but it's very difficult for them to cover the principal amount. Okay. So these firms or these companies are known as zombie company. Now, how you will differentiate between a zombie company and a non-zombie company? It is based on interest coverage ratio. Now let's understand what is interest coverage ratio. See, interest coverage ratio, it is companies earning companies earning before interest and taxes. So companies earning before interest and taxes divided by interest expense during a specific time period. Okay. So interest coverage ratio is companies earning before interest and taxes divided by interest expense at that particular time period. Okay. Now if this ratio is less than 1, what does it mean? That this, let me change the color, that this company earning before interest and taxes is greater than interest expense. Okay. That means they are not able to make enough profit. There's a stagnancy, and these firms are known as zombie firms. So if because of lower profits for companies, which give rise to zombie firms, so there's a large number of zombie firms with less profit making companies, definitely it will give rise to what? NPAs. NPAs. And definitely NPAs will impact the balance sheet of banks. Okay. So it will be very difficult for bank to roll out credit. Okay. So poor financial health of bank. Now you can see that if all this continue, it will give rise to a virtuous cycle of financial health of bank and GDP growth. Okay. So to solve this problem of zombie firms, to solve this problem of lower profit for companies, to solve this problem of decrease in GDP growth rate, to solve this problem of decrease in credit creation, government came up with many frameworks associated with NPAs. And it all started with filed civil suits to recover NPA, but it was a lengthy and time consuming exercise. Then in 1993, we got debt recovery tribunals, which was overburdened with cases. There was poor recovery rates and delay in recovery. Then government came up with 2002 Surfasi Act, and this act enables bank to sell off pledged assets without approaching the debt recovery tribunal. So it will solve the problem of overburdened cases. It will take less time because there's no need to go to debt recovery tribunals. Okay. Now, even after this act, there was an issue of non-performing assets and bad loans. They were piling up, and all previous reform measures, Surfasi Act, DRT, they were performing badly. So for that, government came up with 2016 Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code to solve that problem. Now, this code consolidated all the laws associated to bankruptcy in a time bound manner. Okay. Then, recently, in budget 2021, there was a bad bank concept, setting up a bad bank in the form of National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. So, these are the different framework associated with non-performing assets. So government came with IBC for what? To overall the corporate distress. And how they do that? They consolidated previously available laws to create a time-bound mechanism with a creditor in control model. So here they given preference to creditor. Earlier there was a preference to debtor. So in this mechanism, creditor in control model as opposed to debtor in possession system. So here they are empowering creditor. Okay. So this is about insolvency bankruptcy code. Now let's understand, or let's see basic related to Surfasi Act also. This act, as I told you, empower banks to directly auction residential or commercial properties that have been pledged with them to recover loans. Okay. And according to this act, if a borrower defaults on a loan, the bank can give notice of period 60 days to the borrower to repay the loan. So there's a notice period of 60 days. And if borrower fail to repay within 60 days, bank can bank can take the possession of the pledged asset and then lease it or sell it, or it can take over the management of the business of the borrower, or it can appoint a person to manage the asset. So this is about Surfasi Act 2002. Now, what is the difference between Surfasi Act 2002 and IBC? Because then only you can able to understand why government came up with IBC 2016 code. What is the need? So the first difference is that Surfasi is applicable only for secured financial creditors. Now, just now I told you that this act empowers bank to directly auction residential properties. And but government came IBC, which is applicable for both secured and unsecured financial creditors. Now, what do you mean by secured and unsecured financial creditors? Let's see here. Secured and unsecured. See, secured financial creditors where a creditor get a control over debtor's property. So at the time of default, creditor can sold that property to recover the amount or default amount. So there's a secured creditor. There's property which can be sold off to recover the loan. And what is unsecured? Where creditor do not have any kind of control over debtor's property. Okay. What is the best example of unsecured creditors? Yes, credit card issuers. Credit card issuers. So here, creditors having that hold over a debtor's property, whether it's real estate or personal property. But here there is no control. So SARFAESI Act deals with only with financial creditors or financial secured creditors and not with unsecured creditors. But government came with IBC and it deals with both secured as well as unsecured. So here, this is the first stark difference between both. Now the second is, unlike IBC, SARFAESI Act is not applicable to operational creditors. Now we have two kind of creditors. First is financial. Second is operational. Now financial creditors are those creditors which provide a loan to the company, which provide money to the company. Those creditors are known as financial creditors. Okay. And operational creditors provide goods and services. Okay. They provide goods and services. So now SARFAESI deals only with financial creditors and not with operational creditors. Creditors provide goods and services. But IBC rectified this problem and they provide, and IBC is applicable to both financial as well as operational. And the last major difference between the both is that to invoke insolvency reforms or to go for any creditor or any debtor to go for insolvency, the minimum threshold is 1 lakh rupee under SARFAESI Act. But during pandemic, government find out that many companies were stressed because of that. So they raised the amount. So for companies, it is 1 CR currently, and for individuals, it is 1000. So minimum threshold for invoking IBC. For individuals, it is 1000, and for companies, it is 1 CR, and under SARFAESI, it was 1 lakh. Okay. So these three are major difference between SARFAESI and IBC. Now, let's discuss achievements and challenges associated with IBC Code 2016. The first in this category is higher recovery rate. See, higher recovery higher recovery rate for lenders from insolvent businesses has been increased to up to 45% with IBC. Yes, correct. And earlier it was 26% only. And with IBC, it is 45%. Let's understand with the help of example. Suppose for every 100 rupees, now lender can recover approx 45 rupees on an average. Okay. with IBC. Earlier, it was only 26 rupees on every 100 rupees. So now there's a difference of 19 rupees, which is a substantial amount. So there's a higher recovery rate associated with IBC code. Second is time taken to close the cases. Now, time taken to close the cases has been reduced to 1 year. So with IBC, to resolve the issue, the time period has been reduced to 1 year. And earlier, imagine the time it will take to resolve such crisis. Yes, 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years. Now, this fast track mechanism definitely will ease the pressure on creditors. Definitely, it will lead to a better reallocation of resources. Yes. So, better reallocation of resources definitely will ease the credit flow. See, better reallocation of resources will ease the credit flow, and good credit flow will definitely improve the business, or it will lead to ease of doing business. Okay, so there's an improvement in ease of doing business with IBC. The next achievement is it addresses the Chakravyuh challenge. Now, what do you mean by Chakravyuh challenge? See, 1991 LPG reforms. So, liberalization, privatization, and globalization, because of these reforms, it's easy for business, for companies to enter into the business cycle. Okay. But it is difficult for them to exit. Okay. So, there was a Chakravyuh, easy to enter and difficult to exit. Okay. So, what was happening? Inefficient old firms simultaneously working with efficient firms. So there was a misappropriation of resources, misappropriation of factors of production like labor, like capital. But with IBC addresses this challenge, and now it is easy for inefficient old firms to exit. Okay. So that is why it is said that it addresses the Chakravyuh challenge of Indian economy. Got it? Last but not the least, it brought change in behavior. How? See, with IBC, there is a fear of losing control over company. So what it will do, it will push promoters to improve or to work on their efficiency. And it will also push borrowers to pay loan as soon as they can. So they bought behavioral change also. It brought behavioral change also. So these are the 5 achievements associated with IBC. Higher recovery rate. Now it's 45%. Earlier it was 26%. Then less time. It is less time taken to close the cases. Then we have improvement in ease of doing business because of better allocation of resources, because of better credit flow. This we can see in India's ranking in ease of doing business. Then it also addresses the Chakravyuh challenge. Now it's easy for inefficient firms to come out. Then it brought behavioral change. Got it? So these are the 5 achievements, 5 major achievements. Now, still there are, even after this much, still there are certain challenges associated with IBC. Now let's see those challenges one by one. The first in this is case closure. See, 60% 60% of cases related to NPAs, related to bad loans, they are being resolved. But still 40% of cases are pending. Okay. So 40% of cases are still pending. But the idea behind setting this IBC was there's a time bound resolution. So the goal of resolving the goal of resolving the issue in a time bound manner is not being able to met. So it is very difficult to maintain the healthy flow of credit. Okay. So it is creating a difficulty in setting up a healthy flow of credit. Why? Because there's still 40% of cases are pending. Second challenge is mode of closure. See, the basic characteristic of setting or bringing up IBC was to have a resolution. Resolution. And how they do that? By merging loss making companies, by changing the ownership, by restructuring. So, what is being observed that still more than 50% cases associated with bad loans or NPAs, they are closing down due to liquidation and not due to resolution. And what do you mean by liquidation? In this, companies are dissolved. In this scenario, companies are dissolved. Their assets sold off. So rather rearranging, rather restructuring, most of the cases are closed down due to liquidation and not due to resolution, which was the basic aim of setting IBC code. Okay. So only 14% of cases closed down due to resolution and more than 50% of cases closed down due to liquidation, which is not good for the economy. Got it? Second issue is with respect to time taken. See, you all know that IBC is a time bound mechanism. So stipulated time was 180 days. Okay. And on that, permitted extension of 90 days was there. So plus 90 permitted extension. But with recent amendment, they made it but with recent amendment, they made it 330 days, almost a year, more than a year. Got it? So, according to experts, the idea was to resolve cases in a time bound manner. But what is being observed that they are taking more years than expected in last 5 years, which is against the idea of setting IBC. Okay, which is another issue. Next issue is haircut. Now, lender when lender accept a haircut, what does it mean? That lender is ready to accept anything. What was anything less than what was due. Haircut means when lender is ready to accept anything less than what was due. Let's understand this with the help of example. Suppose bank owed 1000 rupees by a borrower. Okay. Now bank assessed the situation and they found that it is very difficult for a bank to recover 1000 rupees. Situation is very bleak. So now what they will do, they will accept 700 rupees. Okay. Sorry. So borrower will give 700 rupees and they will accept 700 rupees and they will close the loan. Okay. So now here bank will close the loan. So here you can see there's a difference of 300 rupees, and it is known as that bank accepting 30% of haircutting. In this scenario, bank accepted 30% of haircut. Okay. Where lender where lender accept anything less than what was due. So there's issue of haircut in this. Then another issue is delay in admission of applications and approval of resolution plan. There is a rising concern associated with COC, that is Committee of Creditors, and IPs, that is Insolvency Professionals. And what was that? That there's a lot of leeway provided to Committee of Creditors, that is COC. They have lot of discretion or leeway associated with uh, resolution plans, discretion associated with recruiting insolvency professionals. So because of this discretion, there is delay in admission of applications and approval of resolution plans. Okay, which is another issue. And last but not the least, issue with respect to infrastructure, because there is less number of law tribunals, there is delay in hiring, rising number of vacancies. So all these are infrastructural issues. So IBC code is associated with these challenges. There is delay in case closure. 40% of cases are still pending. Then mode of closure. Purpose is to have resolution. But what is going on? Most of the companies, most of the cases are closing down due to liquidation and not due to resolution. Okay, which is not at all good for company economy. Then time taken. You set something, some a process with a for a time bound, uh, in a time bound manner, but still uh, it is very difficult to process it, because that time which you have set is increasing. Then 4 is haircut, as I told you, where lender accept anything less than which was due. Then there is delay in admission. There's a uh, challenge, there's a concern associated with Committee of Creditors because of a discretion given to them. Then we have infrastructural issue. Okay, so these are the challenges associated with IBC. Now, if there's any mains question that tell the difference between Sarfasi Act and IBC, you can write down three differences which we have already discussed. If there is a any analysis based on IBC code, then you can discuss its achievement. You can write down its challenges. Okay. And at last, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance suggests that we need to expedite the process of resolution and ask for filling of vacancies and call for more transparency and framing of professional code of conduct for COC. Okay. So that's all with respect to IBC 2016. And still, if you have any doubt, please post your doubt in our comment box. Our team tried to resolve them as soon as possible. Now, our next discussion and last discussion based on this news article, which appeared on page number 13 in the Hindu newspaper. So, Context is that National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, they recently found that over half of nearly 10,000 hospital patients surveyed for a study where given they were given antibiotic to prevent rather than treat, which is a major concern or which is a worrisome situation for India. Why? Because India carries one of the largest burden of drug resistant pathogens worldwide. Okay. So when you are giving antibiotic to prevent and not to treat, definitely it will create a chaos. So the question is that are antibiotics being overprescribed in India? Okay. What's your take on that? So first, what's so special about antibiotic? Antibiotic, they are indispensable weapon in battle against bacteria. And how they do that? Let's see one by one. First, sorry, there's a technical glitch. So wait for 1 minute. There's some problem with slides, I guess. We'll go without that. So first, this cell wall inhibition. Now, slide issue. How to solve this? Yeah, exit. Not working. Sorry for the delay. Slide. Hmm. It's working now. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So first is cell wall inhibition. Antibiotics like penicillin, here you can see in diagram also, antibiotics like penicillin, they stop bacteria from building wall. So it is very difficult for bacteria to build cell wall, and which will ultimately lead them to burst. Okay, it will make difficult to build cell wall. Ultimately, it will burst. So first function of antibiotic is that it inhibits cell wall creation. Second is protein synthesis inhibition. Now you must have heard about antibiotic known as erythromycin. So basically this antibiotic, it clamps onto the bacteria's protein making machinery. Okay, so now this will make difficult for bacteria to make protein, which is very much needed for its survival, for its growth. So second function of antibiotic is protein synthesis inhibition. Next is DNA RNA synthesis inhibition. In this, antibiotic like ciprofloxacin, it will prevent bacteria DNA. It will prevent bacteria DNA from unwinding or replicating. So if bacteria DNA will not unwind or replicate, then how it will proliferate? So it will inhibit its growth. Okay. Third is by disrupting metabolic pathway. See, there's an antibiotic known as trimo trimethoprim. So it will disrupt the creation of tetrahydrofolic acid, and this acid basically used by bacteria to synthesize amino acid, nucleic acid. So in absence of this tetrahydrofolic acid, it will be very difficult for bacteria to survive, to function, because there is an absence of this acid, which lead to an absence of nucleic acid and ammonia acid. So definitely it will lead to its demise. Then we have disruption of cell membrane function. Now there's antibiotic known as polymyxins. So basically this polymyxins poke lot of holes in bacterial cells wall or membrane. So what will happen? It will cause important stuff to come out or leak out. So definitely it will create a problem for its survival. So another function of antibiotic is disruption of cell membrane function. Then another is selective toxicity in human cells, because antibiotics are like they are targeted weapons. They are targeted weapons, and that doesn't harm human cells, only bacteria. So that is selective toxicity and human cells. So these are the important functions performed by antibiotics, and that is why they are in use. First is cell wall inhibition. They will restrict, antibiotic will restrict cell wall creation. Then protein synthesis inhibition. Antibiotics will clamps on, they will attach to bacteria's cell bacteria's protein making machinery. Now if bacteria is not able to produce enough protein, then how it will work? And then DNA RNA synthesis inhibition. Then it will disrupt metabolic pathway. It will disrupt the synthesis of tetrahydrofolic acid, which is needed for production of amino acid and nucleic acid. Then there's the disruption of cell membrane function. It will poke a lot of holes in cell membrane, so that important stuff from that will come out or leak out. So definitely it will lead to its demise. Then selective toxicity. And why? Because they are like targeted weapons. They doesn't harm human cells, they only harm bacteria in ideal situation. Okay, now next question is, are antibiotics effective against viruses? Write down the answer. Answer is big no. Because Virus don't have cell wall synthesis, they don't have protein synthesis, they don't have DNA replication, they don't have metabolic pathway. So as you can see, there's a stark difference between with respect to function and structure of virus and bacteria. And antibiotics are not effective if you talk about viruses. For that, we have antivirals. Okay. So next question is, what is antimicrobial resistance? The antimicrobial resistance. That means resistance of microorganism to an antimicrobial agent to which they were first sensitive. What do you mean by resistance? Earlier they were working on it, but now they were they were sensitive to it earlier, but now they are not. That means bacteria learn to survive antibiotics. That is antimicrobial resistance. Now bacteria learn to survive antibiotics, and that is because of frequent use of antibiotics. So the next question is, how did we reach at this situation? First and foremost, inappropriate use of antibiotics in non-bacterial infection. We are using antibiotic in the solving viral infections. For that, we have antivirals, but we are using antibiotics for that, and we know antibiotics will not work on that. Okay. Second is inadequate laboratory facilities. See, doctors sometimes they have to guess which antibiotic to use. Why? Because they don't have enough tools to find out the right one, or to assess the properties of bacteria to find out the right antibiotic. So they will perform hit and trial method. Then lack of adequate training in antibiotic selection. Enough training is not there. Then another challenge is inadequate monitoring of antimicrobial resistance. Control of antibiotic prescription and dispensing practices by health system in spite of repeated warnings. Last, incentivization of prescribing practices by pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry promoting the use of antibiotics than necessary. Okay. So what is the solution? Is curbing use of antibiotic is the only solution against this antimicrobial resistance? Answer is big no. Again, big no. Because to solve this issue, we need to align our healthcare structure. We need to work on sanitation. We need to promote cleanliness. We need to work on our cleanliness. And we need to provide easy access to clean water. And I hope you all remember that during COVID-19, we learned to wash our hands and we learned to use mask. And I guess fighting antimicrobial resistance is about getting those rights too. Okay. So that's all about antimicrobial resistance. And still you have any doubt, please let us know. And I hope you have liked this video. And if you, please do like, share, and subscribe our videos. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates. Thank you.